Unlike Pali, who was literally mind-blown, some characters in the Avatar franchise push themselves a bit too far, causing them to fall into madness. Of course, the first character who comes to mind is the master of lightning bending herself, Azula. But she's not the only one who went to Cuckoo Land and never returned. One of the most terrifying characters of the Avatar series is by far the bloodbender Hama. But insanity does not only equal villainy. If we think about King Bumi, who has a few loose screws, a mad genius can come in handy. In today's video, I will talk about these 3 characters who have completely lost it. Now, let's get nuts! While overusing lightning bending may have a thing or two to do with Azula having a few fried brain cells by the end of Book 3, that's not quite what drove her over the edge. Azula has always been the child prodigy when it comes to firebending. Being Zuko's little sister, she wasn't supposed to be heir to the throne, being the second child. This, combined with the fact that her mother, the Queen Ursa, was actually terrified in the monster Fire Lord Ozai was creating, Azula grew jealous of the love her mother showed towards Prince Zuko. As we have seen toward the end of the show, Azula developed real strong mommy issues. While Ursa gave more attention to the soft boy that was Zuko before she vanished and became Noriko, Azula was by far Ozai's favorite child. The Fire Lord didn't care much about Zuko, since all that mattered to him was to create a strong firebending warrior who could succeed him in ruling the world with an iron fist. Azula was not only a great strategist when it came to getting what she wanted, but she almost mastered the difficult sub-skill of lightning bending. Her talent is also quite visible in the rare blue flames she produces, making her one firebender to be feared. The mother figure she lacked, and in a way pushed away, combined with a cold, fearful father figure, literally turned her into an almost indestructible killing machine, while giving her the mental stability of an ex-child actor. It takes a lot of self-control to bend lightning, since electricity is literally going through your body, and while Azula still had control over that, she completely lost her mind. On top of everything else, there are 2 major events that made her go crazy. First, she got betrayed by her 2 best friends, Mai and Ty Lee, who eventually joined Team Avatar in bringing down the tyranny of the Fire Nation. The Fire Princess met the 2 during her studies at the Royal Fire Academy for Girls, an upper-class school reserved for Fire Nation nobility. When hunting down the Avatar, Azula preferred to build a small, elite team of people she trusted, instead of the typical soldiers from the Fire Army. And this is how Ozai's Angels were assembled. As Azula was growing more intense and violent by the minute, Mai was the first to betray her when she saved Zuko's life. When the lightning bender attacked back, Ty Lee protected Mai by chi blocking Azula, which led to her imprisonment. The relationship she had with the 2 girls seemed to have been the last thing preventing her from completely losing it. Now that she lost the only remaining friend she had, she experienced a mental breakdown the day she was to be crowned Fire Lord, while Ozai would become the first Phoenix King. The girl started hallucinating about her mother, while being impossible toward her servants and advisors. But what really pushed her buttons was losing during a fight against her brother Zuko, who she looked down on. While she injured him badly, Katara eventually trapped her into ice. Being defeated by a waterbender must have stung hard. The next time we see Azula is in the comic sequels, strapped in a wheelchair and as crazy as ever. While the evil witch-like Hama met her match when she fought Katara under a full moon, she wasn't always bad. Before she mastered her maniacal villain laugh and, of course, the now illegal art of bloodbending, Hama was actually very close with Katara's family. The waterbender was Katara and Sokka's grandmother Kanna's childhood friend. As you all probably know by now, waterbending was forbidden by the Fire Nation during the 100-Year War. And as their army kept raiding the water tribes, the number of waterbenders lowered and lowered. Hama was one of the southern water tribe waterbenders who fought against the invaders. But as her friends and family got captured or perished, she tragically was the last one standing. That is, until she too got captured and imprisoned in a facility with really dry air. The Fire Nation guards kept the humidity level really low so that no prisoner could waterbend in any way. And on top of that, they chained their inmates when they had to give them water to make sure they wouldn't attack and try to escape. When everything seemed to be hopeless, Hama came to realize that water could not only be found in the outside world, but inside every living creature. including the Fire Nation guards. So she started practicing what she calls bloodbending on elephant rats for a few years, and always during the full moon, when waterbending abilities are at their most powerful. Having been tortured and trapped for years, you can see that insanity was slowly creeping in as she bloodbends these poor animals. She even started to smile every single time she made progress. Eventually, she succeeded in bloodbending the guard who was keeping watch that night, and as she walked in a drunken, dizzy manner, she surprisingly didn't look for any survivors to break out of their cages. Maybe they were already all gone, or she was too fueled by rage that she couldn't see clearly, and only wrath remained on her mind. The whole ordeal drove her completely nuts, but not Azula style, as Hama can still manage to be in control of herself, more or less. She eventually escaped and settled down to a small Fire Nation village, where she terrorized its people in the shadows for years. Every full moon, she would kidnap Fire Nation villagers and, by using bloodbending, would force them to walk up a mountain, where she would keep them imprisoned in a cave. Her downfall really started when she bloodbended the village Ding during a full moon, but lost him due to the sun rising. Ding was of great help to Aang, Sokka, and Toph as they asked him questions about the event that scarred him for life. As he was about to board up his windows with wooden boards, as he did during every full moon since the failed abduction, Team Avatar asked him a few questions, which led them to Hama's secret prison in the mountain. Having discovered Hama's secret, the crazy witch's true identity as the Moon Monster was uncovered. But the real hero of this episode was actually Katara, who saved the day by bloodbending her to save Sokka and Aang, who were thrown towards each other by Hama. While Hama ended up being arrested, she kept a smile on her face as she had passed down the horrifying bloodbending technique to Katara. Today's video's last entry is not quite like the first two. As far as I know, Bumi has always been a bit off. As viewers, the earliest chronological moment of Bumi's life shown in the series shared was set during his time as a child, as he was goofing around with Aang. With his uneven eyes, a missing tooth, and crazy spiky hair tied with a headband, Bumi looks totally disconnected from reality, even as a child. We don't know much as to what happened to him as a child, but considering how carefree he is, he probably got hit on the head by earthbending with a few large rocks early in his life. During a flashback with Aang, before he got stuck into that iceberg for 100 years, Bumi decided to teach his airbending friend how to use the Omashu delivery system, or what he called the world's greatest super slide, to have some fun. The two boys then hopped on a cart and slid down a chute to the city below. 100 years later, Aang visited Omashu once more, but this time accompanied by Katara and Sokka. Within the Earth Kingdom city, they found the same delivery system built across it. So of course Aang had to show his new friends what his mad genius of an old friend Bumi showed him a century ago. While this all sounded fun, well, like a lot of times Aang goofs around, it did not end very well. A few spears were being delivered at high speed right behind them, so Aang had to take the cart off course, which led them across the city, causing a bit of destruction along the way. Their crazy race ended up crashing, you guessed it, that poor cabbage merchant's cart for the first time, but surely not the last. Being arrested for their evil crime of destroying cabbages, our gang of heroes were brought to the King of Omashu, a weird-looking fellow in major need of sleep. Of course, the king was a very old Bumi who became king because of reasons. I mean, he's also a pretty OP earthbender, but a bit of therapy wouldn't be such a bad thing. The king, who did not share his name at first, decided that the punishment for Team Avatar's crime would be a feast. Because logic, but also because King Bumi wanted to test Aang's airbending by throwing a chicken at him. Again, I'm not quite sure that makes any sense, but then what does in King Bumi's palace? Being totally out of his mind, King Bumi tested the Avatar with 3 challenges. True to Bumi's insane ways, the first test involved Bumi asking Aang his opinion about his new outfit. Aang replied, "Great," and was informed that he passed the first challenge. Okay. Well, Bumi changed his mind and announced the first test, which was Aang having to retrieve a key. Then came the second challenge, where he had to find and catch Flopsy, the king's pet, an enormous goat gorilla with horns and sharp fangs. For the third and last challenge, Aang chose to duel with Bumi, who turned out to have a more than beach-ready body and amazing earthbending abilities. While Bumi was impressed by Aang's skills and some of the challenges were a bit unorthodox, the king's real borderline villain insanity can be seen in the way he forced Aang to participate in his crazy tests. Before the challenges started, Bumi slid a ring made out of genomite on both Sokka and Katara's fingers. The genomite, or creeping crystal, grows out of control when in contact with organic matter, such as human beings. So Aang had to complete these 3 challenges as fast as possible before his 2 friends ended up completely encased by the mineral, and eventually lost their access to air. In a way, Bumi taught Aang to think beyond what he sees and knows, which ended up helping him in defeating Ozai later on. But on the other side, Bumi's eccentric ways can be at times really dangerous, showing how unstable the old man is. And, fun fact, creeping crystal makes for really good candies. Just make sure not to leave any around your face so it doesn't grow on you. In another Avatar video, user Trex Advent asks, what would it be like if we had these powers in real life? Would we all fall into madness like Azula? Picture it for a moment. A high school full of hormonal benders or impatient Karens using firebending on the manager. Oh my.